The Freedom Riders were courageous individuals who protested against segregation by riding buses with the aim of integrating them and the bus stations. In 1961, a significant event occurred in Anniston, Alabama, where a group of Freedom Riders faced violence as a white mob attacked and burned their bus. Another disturbing incident took place when a cohort of students from Nashville traveled to Birmingham, Alabama, only to be subjected to physical assaults. Despite challenges, Attorney General Robert Kennedy intervened, compelling a hesitant bus company to continue carrying the Freedom Riders. However, tensions escalated further when Freedom Riders were attacked once again, this time in Montgomery, Alabama. Responding to the escalating crisis, President Kennedy took decisive action by dispatching 400 U.S. Marshals to safeguard the Freedom Riders. The federal government's involvement did not stop there. The Interstate Commerce Commission, recognizing the importance of ending segregation, issued a significant ruling banning segregation in all travel facilities, including waiting rooms, restrooms, and lunch counters. This ruling marked a pivotal moment in the civil rights movement, further advancing the cause of racial equality in America. After their successes in bus integration, civil rights activists shifted their focus to integrating Southern schools. In September 1962, a federal court granted Air Force veteran James Meredith permission to enroll at the all-white University of Mississippi. However, the governor of Mississippi adamantly refused to allow Meredith's admission. In response, the Kennedy administration deployed U.S. Marshals to ensure Meredith's entry. Another significant confrontation unfolded in 1963 in Birmingham, Alabama. Martin Luther King Jr. and other civil rights leaders led efforts to desegregate the city. However, their peaceful demonstrations were met with violent opposition from the police, who unleashed dogs and water hoses on the activists. The brutal scenes captured on television outraged many Americans, prompting Birmingham officials to relent. They agreed to end segregation within the city. On June 11, 1963, President Kennedy addressed the nation, urging Congress to pass comprehensive civil rights legislation. Tragically, just hours after the president's speech, Medgar Evers, a veteran of World War II and the field secretary for the NAACP, was assassinated by a sniper, underscoring the ongoing struggle for racial equality and the risks faced by civil rights activists. President Kennedy's Civil Rights Bill aimed to end discrimination based on race, religion, national origin, and gender. It also sought to empower the government to enforce school desegregation more effectively. Civil rights leaders strongly advocated for the bill's passage and organized a massive march on Washington, D.C. to express their support. On August 28, 1963, over 250,000 people of all races gathered in the nation's capital, urging Congress to swiftly enact the bill. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his iconic "I Have a Dream" speech, emphasizing the importance of peace and racial harmony. However, tragedy struck once more on September 15, 1963, when a bomb exploded at the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, claiming the lives of 4 young girls. This heinous act underscored the ongoing struggle for civil rights. Just 2 months later, President Kennedy was assassinated, and Lyndon Johnson assumed the presidency. Johnson successfully shepherded Kennedy's Civil Rights Act of 1964 through Congress, cementing a significant milestone in the fight for equality and justice in America. Following their successes in other civil rights efforts, activists turned their attention to securing voting rights for African Americans in the South. This initiative, known as the 1964 Freedom Summer Voting Project, aimed to register African American voters in Mississippi, with the hope of influencing Congress to pass legislation protecting voting rights. Tragically, the campaign proved perilous for some activists. In June 1964, 3 civil rights workers were brutally murdered in Neshoba County, Mississippi, by local law enforcement and members of the Ku Klux Klan. Simultaneously, civil rights advocates challenged Mississippi's political establishment. At the 1964 Democratic National Convention, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, SNCC, formed the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, MFDP, in an effort to replace the state's regular party delegates. Fannie Lou Hamer, a prominent civil rights activist, delivered a moving speech on behalf of the MFDP, garnering widespread support for their cause. However, Despite public backing, the Democratic Party only offered 2 of Mississippi's 68 seats to MFDP members. In 1965, civil rights workers faced violent resistance during a voting project in Selma, Alabama. In response, Martin Luther King Jr. led a historic march from Selma to Montgomery, Alabama, to demand voting rights. Despite encountering brutality from law enforcement, the march gained momentum, with thousands of people joining along the way. President Johnson reacted by urging Congress to pass the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which aimed to eliminate discriminatory state laws preventing African Americans from voting. Congress heeded the call, and the act was passed into law. As a result, the number of registered African American voters in the South significantly increased, marking a crucial victory for the civil rights movement.